let's start as an activist and a political figure in Afghanistan. How do you evaluate the general situations from the Afghan people's point of view, since you are trying to be with the people and trying to live their problems? How do you see the situation in your country?
In the name of God, and you're welcome in the tent of nation. And I am it is a pleasure for me to meet you. You know, I was candidate for presidential election. I visited 27 provinces between 34 provinces. I meet Afghan ordinary people in the street, in the hospital, in the university, in the farm. And so I can speak about the Afghan real situation because I saw myself. The situation of Afghan people is terrible. It is a disaster because the large majority of Afghan people in Kabul and also in other provinces, between 60 and 70%, they are without job, and especially the young people. I know personally a lot of students that they finish the university in medical, in polytechnic, in engineering. Since 2-3 years they have no job. In each administration that they go, the administration office ask a relationship or ask money. For Afghan simple worker, you can see in Kabul in the morning every day in the big street there is thousand wait from 6 a.m. until 10 or 11 a.m. Between 1,000, just 100 can find a job. I visited a lot of provinces, so I saw this road that building by international community. Karzai said it is a big honor for me that I do build about a 5,000 kilometer road, but you can never see one road building regarding international norm and standard. So they built some road after 2 years or 1 year used, the road destroyed because they never respect the contract. They never respect they never use the material with good or higher quality. You go in Afghanistan in some school, Mr. Bush in his debate with Al Gore for presidential campaign, when Mr. Al Gore criticized Mr. Bush diplomacy in Afghanistan, Mr. Bush in this time said, for me, it is a big honor that 6 million Afghan children, boys and girls, go to school. When the American people hear, they will be happy. But there is not one school in Afghanistan. I said to American ambassador Ekenberry, he was in my tent after presidential election and he sat down in this chair. I said, Mr. Ambassador, show me one school in Afghanistan. The famous high school in Afghanistan is Higher School Habibia, just near my tent. I said, Mr. Ambassador, we can go in this high school. There is not enough chair, there is not enough table, there is not enough books. The salary of a teacher is $60 in months. There is not one laboratory in the school. I don't speak about the far school in a far district of Afghanistan, in Nangarhar, in Bamiyan, in Badakhshan, in Kunar. No, I speak about the famous high school in Afghanistan, near in the Afghan capital, near Afghan parliament, and near presidential palace. When in the school there is not enough chair, there is not enough table, there is not enough books, how you can think that there is chair in the very far district in Afghanistan? How a teacher can teach with $60 in months? It is not enough to bread. It is not enough to buy some bread for 2 persons. A lot of Afghan teachers, they arrived in school, they signed the paper, and return in the market, they sell some potatoes, they sell some other thing to have something to eat in the night. Afghan Ministry of Health said 85% Afghan people benefit by primary health service. He said in each district there is a clinic. It is absolutely wrong. In Kabul district there is not school, there is not clinic. I never saw a clinic in the far district of Kunar or Nangarhar or Uruzgan or Farah. In Afghan capital, when you go in hospital, there is not medicine. When there is operation, you must, the man or woman that he or she is ill, he or she must buy all necessary for the hospital. At 10 o'clock p.m. or 11 o'clock p.m., you can go visit a hospital in Kabul. There is person. So the situation in Afghanistan, in each section, in each part, in each matter, it is a very big disaster for Afghan people and also for international community taxpayer, because they work very hard. For example, Saudi Arabia or America or Japanese people work very hard. They pay tax. A part of their tax arrive in Afghanistan for reconstruction. But the international community representative in Afghanistan, in American embassy, in Japanese embassy, in Russia embassy, in Iranian, French, Japan, and no other embassy, they share with some Afghan authority this money between them and send directly in their bank account, probably in Switzerland, because the secret of bank is very strong, and they refuse to give tax in their own country. We received $40 billion, said the former Minister of Finance, Mr. Ahadi. And $4 billion from this $40 billion give directly to Afghan government, which $40 billion, we can build 3 new Afghanistan. Because with $2 you can have a very good lunch. The Afghan engineer salary is $200 in months. So $40 billion, it was enough to build 3 new Afghanistan. But the international community and Afghan government didn't build only the road of Kabul. You can see yourself the situation of Kabul. The Minister of Finance, in his speech in Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kabul conference, said one signal of progress in Afghanistan that the Kabul people has electricity. It is absolutely wrong. 30% of Kabul citizenship benefit from state electricity. 50% they use the private electricity. They have some contract with the private company that they have big generator. And this 50% has electricity just for 3 hours in day, in night. Mr. Obama arrived in Afghanistan at 10 o'clock. He said all Kabul people has electricity. It is a progress in Afghanistan. I said if Mr. Obama arrived in 11 o'clock in Kabul in the night, he can see that a large majority of Afghan people has not electricity. So I think it is a disaster regarding each branch, each sector in Afghanistan.
You talked very comprehensively about the situation in Afghanistan in different aspects. But there are, aids are coming. As you just mentioned, $40 billion has been assigned to Afghanistan, but a few has just been spent on the infrastructures in the country. But there are also reports saying that the taxpayers, the American taxpayers, the money comes to Afghanistan to supply and aid the warlords and some militants. Some of this money also goes to Taliban. Now the international community, the government of Karzai, they are talking of reconciliations, bringing Taliban on board with the government to rule this country. You as a veteran politicians, as a big politicians, how do you see the reconciliations call from the government and from the international community?
My analysis is very different from other analysis because I think it is not possible to bring peace in Afghanistan just by speech. Each Afghan government in power, in every time, they have a speech of reconciliation. The communist president, Dr. Najib, every time in Afghan governmental TV, he said, we want reconciliation, we want peace. And every day they give some information that the Mujahideen, because in this time Mujahideen was against government, he said, in this area, in this district, this commander of Mujahideen joined our government. But it was wrong. He lies. Today also, I'm absolutely sure we cannot bring peace in Afghanistan without to ask why there is war in Afghanistan. What is the reason of war? If we attack the reason of war, we can after bring peace in Afghanistan. Mr. Karzai said the Taliban must put their weapon. I give him dress, house, and job, and bread. For me, it is very strange. It is the communist leader slogan. House, job, bread, and house, and dress. The question is that the Taliban fight for house, fight for bread, fight for dress, for job, or the Taliban fight for other thing. The war of Taliban, it is not a war for money. It is not a war to have a job. It is not a war to have a house. The Taliban war, in my idea, in my analysis, it is not a war against American troops. It is not a war against German troops in Afghanistan. Because when the Taliban started the war in the first time in 1994, there was not one American soldier in Afghanistan. There was not one Russian soldier in Afghanistan. There was not one foreign soldier in Afghanistan. The Taliban movement started the war to fight the chief of Mujahideen in power in this time, to fight the same chief of former communist political party in government in this time. After 2 years war, the Taliban leader took political power. The chief of Mujahideen, the chief of communism left Afghanistan for Iran, for Pakistan, for European country, for United States. In 2001, the same chief of Mujahideen and the same chief of communist returned in power with Mr. Karzai. They are become minister, governor, chief of district, chief of police, deputy minister, MP, senator. So it is the reason that, in my opinion, the Taliban restarted the war against this kind of people. I give an example. The first war against Karzai government started in Uruzgan. In my campaign, I was in Uruzgan. I asked to Uruzgan ordinary people, why you fight Karzai government? Mr. Mullah Omar is from this province. The ordinary people said, Mr. Bashardost, we didn't fight American troops. I said, you killed their soldier, you didn't fight. They said me, we killed the American soldier because American soldier, he is between me and my enemy. I said, who is your enemy? They said me, in Uruzgan, for example, our enemy is governor. I said, why he is your enemy? They said me, it is a corrupt governor. He took by force our land, our house. When he was in power in the Mujahideen period, he put us in jail. But when the Taliban started the war, he left Uruzgan. In 2001, he returned with Karzai and he became again governor. When he became again governor, his first decision was to arrest the chief of Taliban. He put the chief of Taliban in jail. So for us, there was not other way that we go in mountain and we restart the war against our enemy. If the American soldier, he is not between us and the governor, we never kill him. We have no problem with him. So it's mean that until the day that the Taliban killer or minister or governor or chief of district or vice president or president, I'm absolutely sure the Taliban leader refused to put the weapon and continue the war. The Uruzgan people hate deeply Mr. Karzai. It was a surprise for me. I said, why you hate Mr. Karzai? They said me, Mr. Bashardost, when Mr. Karzai became king, they say king, Afghan ordinary language. When Mr. Karzai became king, he was in Uruzgan. When he left Uruzgan for Kabul, he asked to Uruzgan people, what is your desire? What is your request of me? The Uruzgan people said, Mr. Karzai, when you go in Kabul, we ask you to refuse to kill the Taliban prisoner. You know, the North Coalition, they put in jail the thousand Taliban in north of Afghanistan. The request of Uruzgan chief and Kandahar chief also was that Karzai try to realize to give the freedom for this prisoner. But when Mr. Karzai arrived in Kabul, started his power, more than 3,000 Taliban prisoners killed in the north of Afghanistan without judgment, without court. So it is the reason that they said to me, until the day that Karzai in power, Khalili is in power, Dostum is in power, Fahim is in power, we never accept this situation. We are ready to continue the war. So if we would like to build peace in Afghanistan, it is the first condition that the killer of Taliban left Afghan government. And also I think it is not possible to bring peace in Afghanistan when the Taliban return in power, because the Taliban chief killed a lot of other people. If the Taliban movement return in power, the Mujahideen political party go in mountain and continue the war. So in my idea, we can bring peace in Afghanistan if we give a chance to a new generation that never involved in civil war.
And this is the questions. I mean, now we talk of very complicated situation here. The problem is not the existence of the international troops in Afghanistan today or tomorrow or after a year or after 2014, as was discussed in the Kabul conference. The troops will leave sooner or later. Now the problem remains here. The tussles will be between the Taliban, the government of Karzai, and the warlords. What is the solution?
Firstly, the condition of Karzai for Taliban is unacceptable for the chief of Taliban. Karzai said you must accept Afghan constitution. For Taliban chief, it is against Islamic values, the Afghan constitution. For example, if Mullah Omar accepts the Afghan constitution, I'm absolutely sure that the other member of Quetta Council tried to kill Mullah Omar. He said, Mr. Mullah Omar, in 8 years, we give our life. Our young boys give his life to fight this constitution. Now you said it is acceptable? Before you said it is anti-Islamic, it is against Islam. Karzai asked to Mr. Mullah Omar to accept the other evolution in Afghanistan. Mr. Mullah Omar said it is against Islam. Mr. Mullah Omar asked to Karzai that the foreign troop left Afghanistan. It is absolutely unacceptable for Karzai, because Mr. Karzai know very well, if the international troop left Afghanistan 3 hours after Mr. Mullah Omar arrived in Kabul. And before that Mr. Mullah Omar arrived in Kabul, in presidential palace, Mr. Fahim, the first presidential of Karzai, killed Mr. Karzai and take his place. So the other element, in my opinion, I'm absolutely sure that America is not in Afghanistan just to fight Taliban. I'm absolutely sure that United States and Western country are in Afghanistan because Afghanistan is a strategical area. We are neighbor of Iran, we are neighbor of China, we are neighbor of Central Asian country. In my analysis, I believe that the Western country leader believe that the future enemy of Western country, it will be China and India. It will be a kind of coalition between China, India and Russia. It will be another new Cold War. And if United States and other Western countries are in Afghanistan, if they are military bases that they build now in every part of Afghanistan, they can control Iran, they can control China, because we have a mutual border, a common border with China, and they can control the Central Asia country. I'm absolutely sure that United States are in Afghanistan 100 years. And they never left Afghanistan because it is the only strategical place for United States. If United States in 9 years give the life of their young boys, give $40 billion of their taxpayer, they are not in love of Afghan people. They are in strategical interest to come in Afghanistan, to stay in Afghanistan. If Taliban join government or not, I think United States and Western country would like to stay in Afghanistan for a future Cold War or hot war.
Absolutely. It's, if we keep talking about Afghanistan, it would take us hours and hours or maybe days just to find the solutions for Afghanistan. I think
The first solution, we must respect Afghan people decision. How we can know what is the Afghan people desire? The only way it is election. We must try to organize a honest, a transparency and democratic election. For example, 3 months after we have parliamentary election, if this election is 60% honest, I don't ask 100%, it is not possible. 60% honest, transparency, I'm absolutely sure that it is possible that a new generation, a young generation become as MP in Afghan Wolisijirga. Afghan constitution give a lot of power to Afghan parliament and especially to the lower house. This new Wolisijirga can try to build a new politics in Afghanistan. For example, refuse to vote for a corrupt candidate for ministry. This Wolisijirga has power to organize a court for Karzai if Karzai is a traitor. The Afghan Constitution 96 item said Wolisijirga has this power. We have this power to refuse to vote for a corrupt judge in the High Court, Supreme Court. We can refuse to vote for a corrupt minister, and we can ask also to a corrupt minister, you are corrupt, please left the ministry and go to court or to jail. I think the best way it is to try to organize a honest, a transparency election. This way is the best way to give a chance to a new generation with new idea, new analyze, a generation that never involved in civil war in Afghanistan. The government of Taliban is unacceptable. The government of Taliban is unacceptable for a part of Afghan people, because when they were in power, they did a lot of bad things against these people, and especially in north of Afghanistan. The power of Mujahideen political party, it is not acceptable for another part of Afghan people, especially for the south provinces of Afghanistan, because they killed a lot of people. So it is the time. The former communist political party power is not acceptable for Afghan people, because in 2 months they killed 12,000 Afghan people in jail. So it is time to organize a free, a honest election to give a chance to a new generation. This new generation, it's not involved in civil war. They never killed. They never had sexual relationship by force. They never took by force their land, their house. They are not racist. They believe in Afghan people, not in Hazara, Pashtun, Tajik, Uzbek. I think the best way for international community, for Afghan people, for also for Taliban, that give a new chance. I was a lone candidate to visit the Taliban area, the Mujahideen area, the communist area, the Pashtun, Tajik, Uzbek, without bodyguard. Why? Because I never killed a Talib. I never killed a Mujahid. I never killed a communist. I try to do something for all Afghan people without distinction between a Hazara, Pashtun, Uzbek, between political party. A Afghan Hindu, we must respect his right, his life. I think the only solution it is the election, but a free election. When there is more than 1 million fraud, it is not election. It is absolutely a disaster for Afghan people and international community. In election, some way one vote is decisive. One vote changes the situation. In presidential election, more than 1 million vote was fraud. So the election, relatively honest election, free election, transparency election.
Pleasure
I think
having you.
it's a pleasure for me.
Thank
You are
very
welcome.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.